I always find it weird when young adult novel adaptations adapt a story that simply doesn't exist, but is still rooted in history. And that's exactly what Enola Holmes 2 did. And it worked out pretty well. Let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Matt Jarbo. Welcome back to another episode of Podio Commentary. And one of the movies I've been actually the most excited to watch in 2022 was actually Enola Holmes 2. I saw the first one when it came out in 2020. Really enjoyed it. Recently watched it again with my family, and we all found ourselves just very much invested into the story of Enola Holmes, portrayed by Millie Bobby Brown, who I think really does get to be a nice difference of a character from her role in Stranger Things. She gets to express, she gets to emote, she gets to have a little bit of action, and she gets a nice little love romance thing going on that carries itself over pretty well over to this movie. Now, this movie, I don't think is as good as the first one. And I think that has a little bit to do with some issues with it, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. But the general story of the movie is rooted in history. There was an event back in the late 1910s called the Match Girl Strike, in which case a bunch of girls took a strike against very poor working conditions in a matchstick factory, which one of the things that really did help kick off the feminist movement. And it's a really interesting story, and this adapts that story. It's revisionist history. It's definitely fake history, but it tells it in a way that is interesting. And if you don't actually know about the story, now you kind of know a little bit, and you know what, you can go and do your own research. If I had to equate it to something that's not as, well, no, I don't want to say not as significant, but still significant, is the Tulsa massacre in what, like 1920, right? That happened. We got at the beginning of the show Watchmen, they showed the massacre there, and a lot of people didn't know that existed nearly 100 years prior. And so a lot of people started learning about that and talking about that. And this is a situation that takes a very real event and puts it out there in a way that tens of millions of probably young women are going to watch. And I think that's going to work out well for, for representation. Now, look, this movie, at the end of the day, is this movie aimed at someone like me? The answer to that is no, but I can still find enjoyment in just about anything. And again, one of the big draws for me as a fan of Henry Cavill is that, well, Henry Cavill. I was excited to see Sherlock Holmes come back and have a much meatier role this time around. And so this time, Enola finds herself having successfully saved the Viscount Tewkesbury, who they actually finally this time, because he's got this name, it's like Viscount Marquis, blah, 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 whatever in the first movie. They just shorten it to Tewkesbury this time around because I think they realized that it's a little bit difficult to remember this guy's name. So they just shortened it around this time, but she helped save him at the end of the last movie. So now she's out on her own. She has effectively opened up her own detective agency, but because of her age and because of her gender and because of the time it was in history, not a lot of people were in fact giving her the time of day. And they also saw the name Holmes and they were like, so where's your brother? What's going on? Where's Mr. Sherlock? Is he busy? But then a little girl named Bessie comes in and she's trying to find her sister, Sarah, who's been missing. And from there, Enola, who's kind of just in the market for literally anything, desperate for anything to prove herself, goes on this journey to try to uncover what is going on. And the journey is really good. It's really interesting. And starts to kind of work in and of itself with the Sherlock case, which he's been hired to, find out who's been basically like stealing money, embezzling money. And obviously in these particular cases, both of the cases will always, intersect. It's always the A plot and the B plot will find a way to come together in the end of the movie. It always happens in these things. This is absolutely no different. But what's really interesting, though, is that it does establish Sherlock and his arch nemesis. And that, I was so happy. Like when they start figuring it out and I'm like, it's Moriarty. I was very happy. I don't know why I was super happy. And then when they found out who Moriarty is, I'm like, oh no, people are going to get mad at this because one of the things that Enola Holmes does as a franchise is it does race bend and gender bend. And it's fine. I don't really care about any of that because this is, it's a young adult series that's taking on a public domain character. So, obviously they're going to do what they're going to do with it. They're going to make it more diverse and more inclusive. And guess what? That really does work well with a lot of people. But in this particular case, I really enjoyed this version of Moriarty quite a bit. And again, that was a big part of everything as it came together. What was really cool, though, was that Enola and Sherlock actually teamed up at the end of this movie to solve the crime. But there's a moment in the movie that I feel like they're kind of building towards the like whatever might happen with the third movie, because I think at this point that's guaranteed to happen, is the whole thing with Helena Bonham Carter, her mother, right? Eurodora, whatever her name is. Because like in the first movie, Enola's trying to find her, and we know that she's off doing something, fighting for women's rights to vote, fighting for the suffragette movement. And in this one, she's kind of just still she's posting like mail bombs. I'm like, okay, so she's kind of like domestic terrorist type thing going on. All right, whatever, cool beans, whatever. But like, there's a breakout scene where Enola gets arrested and they break her out. And it just like, I get why they did it, but it's also like, all right, like, you know, it was like such a weird thing in the movie. Like when you, like literally when I was trying to start the movie, I click on it on Netflix, and as I'm getting settled, it starts to autoplay a clip from the film, right? Well, it plays their fight scene with the mom and everything. And it just seems so out of place. And then when I finally saw it in context, like it was cool, but at the same time, it still kind of felt like this is just a setup scene for what's going to be coming for the next movie. Because obviously whatever's going to be happening next is going to be heavily tied in to the suffragette movement and women's rights to vote, which makes all the sense in the world considering what these stories are building to and the actual time frame when they happened. So that was pretty cool. I mean, I felt the scene was kind of dumb, but I get what it was building up towards. It was, you know, laying the breadcrumbs for everything else. And what's really fascinating about this is the fact that this is not based on any of the other novels by Nancy Springer, who wrote the Enola Holmes series. This is one that they just wanted to adapt. And I think it worked out really well for like what it was in history that they wanted to adapt. The themes they wanted to adapt, which of course is going from I to we. It's finding people. Because, okay, so in the first movie, Enola is very like, I will solve this on my own. I am Enola Holmes. And everyone's telling her, no, you can't. You're just a girl. You're basically just an idiot. That's what her older brother Mycroft basically was saying to her the entire film. Sherlock, on the other hand, was like, yes, quite. I see there's more there, but he's not saying it. This time around, you know, Henry Cavill kind of like, he's a bit softer. I appreciate that. You know, I'm a big Henry Cavill fan. What can I say? But anyway, like it's like, you know, she was alone. Sherlock was alone. They were alone doing what they're doing. Very, very, very isolated. This removes the isolation and turns it into more of like, hey, you can lean on people. You can lean on those that you trust, and you can trust people that you love. And that's a very interesting message. And it's a very good message. I think this movie has a very great message towards the end of it. I enjoyed David Thewlis as the bad guy, although what was really funny about that is it works with Netflix on a show called Big Mouth and Human Resources, where he plays the shame wizard. And his voice as the bad guy in this one was literally the same voice he used as the shame wizard. And I'm just all like, all right, I get it. I understand, you know, I understand that entirely. Still, I thought he was good. I enjoyed the new additions to the cast. I enjoyed the story. It was a little long, 2 hours and 10 minutes, though. I'll say that. It was 2 hours, like, damn, 2 hours and 10 minutes long. This is one that probably shouldn't have been any more than maybe like 100 minutes at max. 100 minutes would be a good runtime. There was definitely some stuff they could trim out. But at the end of the day, what this story really was about, it was about Enola accepting help from others. It was about Enola realizing she doesn't have to be alone. It was Enola also accepting her feelings towards the Viscount Tewkesbury and her kind of stopping to dance, you know, not like dancing around those issues. And then also it was a bit more about Sherlock himself, kind of like learning that it's okay to have someone there with you. And then we get a nice, you know, they're building out the Sherlock Holmes universe at the same time while they're doing this. Here's my problem. Okay. And it's kind of a weird thing. And this is like unrelated to Sherlock, but it is, I think, going to be a problem for Enola Holmes 3. I don't think Henry Cavill will be back as Sherlock. I think that if they do a third movie, that they'll probably end up recasting Sherlock. They have to have the character. The character is wildly important to being in the story for right now. And I think absolutely going forward, especially with how they end the movie. I feel like Henry Cavill, this whole Superman announcement thing that's happened, him leaving The Witcher. And even there was an interview that asked him just recently, like, hey, what about Enola Holmes 3? And he's like, well, I'm pretty busy. So, I mean, he's politely basically saying, like, I don't think I'll be coming back to this. My problem with that is that I feel like that's more to do with his agents, and his agent, Danny Garcia, and her ex-husband, The Rock, who oversees Seven Buck Productions, who did Black Adam. I have a feeling they're kind of like trying to pull him away from the small screen. So Witcher, Enola, whatever else he might have been doing with Netflix, and trying to get him back into being a movie star, which is all well and good. But Henry strikes me as a loyal enough guy that I think if the cards are right, if the timing is right, if the scheduling is right, they can get him in to shoot this. And I hope they do. I really hope that they do. I like Enola Holmes. Bring on Enola Holmes 3. These are fun movies. My girlfriend loves them. My kids love them. I love them. I'm down to watch more. So let me know your thoughts on Enola Holmes. Was it better than the first movie? Was it not as good as the first movie? I want to hear your thoughts or your opinions. Let me know down in the comment section. Subscribe to Podio Commentary. I'll talk to you all later. Peace out.